Hey, thanks everyone for joining us. Remember, we're talking about Jesus being the lead pastor. I can't tell you how crucial that is. And actually what we're talking about is biblical thinking in the church that keeps Jesus in the lead. We have to think right, or else we take over. And it's so easy to do because there's a lot to do and there's a lot of moving parts. So we're working on our thinking, and this time we're thinking about evangelism. You know, just about everywhere I go, pastors are concerned about whether or not their people are reaching out and actually people are coming to know Christ and that God is adding to their church, and most folks are not happy with where they are. And so we kind of think, well, we got to train them how to do this, and there is a place for training. We train here at our church, and that's good. But there are a couple things that have to be in place if Jesus is really going to lead us into the mission field. And this little verse right here that's really familiar, the early church continuing daily with one accord in the temple and breaking bread from house to house did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart. Those two things are hardly ever spoken of when people talk about evangelism, but they're important because we talk about what we like. We talk about what we're happy about. We talk about what makes our hearts glad. And so gladness is important. I think it's interesting that Jesus, when he was teaching his disciples, when he said he was the true vine, he said, "These things I command you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full." It was important to Jesus that their joy was full. And then when Paul came along, who was like the first main missionary to the Gentiles, he said, "I don't want to have dominion over your faith, but I want to be a helper of your joy." And so gladness is important. And it's interesting, Jesus was a very glad person. In fact, the Father said, "I have anointed you with the oil of gladness above your fellows." So gladness. And then singleness of heart is where we're just fascinated with one thing. And that's the sufficiency of Jesus. We just have to know that Jesus is the answer to everyone's heartache. And I think about what Jesus said, who was very compassionate about the multitudes. He was moved with compassion. He said then, "Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that He will send forth laborers." And so the one who is passionate about the harvest is Jesus. And we have to be very single-hearted about Him. And you know, just remember, in this particular passage, the Lord then added to the church daily, such as should be saved. There is a human element of evangelism, but there's a divine element of evangelism. And we can't always figure out how that happens. But if we can work on our gladness, and if we can work on our singleness of heart, then there'll be this well that will be springing up, and we'll want to go. And then we can take our little methods, however we do it, and use it to tell people about Jesus. So that's the good news. We thank you so much for joining us, and check out our blog.